This is Last Strap with Sucker for Side Quests, and I'm currently hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. I'm currently at Kennedy Meadows, just over 700 miles in, just before entering the esteemed Sierra Nevada mountains. I thought it would be fun to interview other hikers who are also actively on the trail to learn what kind of incredible human they are, or just straight up weirdo they have to be to attempt to walk from Mexico to Canada. And all of them have fascinating stories. My next guest, Kaleidoscope, is another member of the Caterpillar family. We met on our second day on trail near Lake Marina. When I made a food calculation error, Kaleidoscope taught me how to use the Far Out app to make a plan for my next few campsites so that I didn't starve to death. I fell behind the Caterpillar and Julian, and we've reunited here in Kennedy Meadows. Here's Kaleidoscope. Thanks for joining me, Kaleidoscope. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit. I've missed you for sure.
Thanks.
Thanks. It's been a while since we've been able to catch up, so I'm glad you're sitting down and taking the time to hang out. How did you get the name Kaleidoscope?
Can I hold this?
Sure.
Thanks. Feels cute. Let's see. I was talking to Twister, who I believe you've spoken with already, and I previously was given the name Gollum for a moment because I went a little feral for my first week or so and got a little bit gremlin mode. But then several people suggested that maybe that was not a kind enough name for me, so scrapped that name and left it open. And Twister and I were walking together, and I was telling her a little about my life and, who I am as a person, as well as the fact that I'm wearing just like absurd patterns and colors. And she's like, "You need something colorful, like a rainbow, but more interesting." And then she was kind of walking for a while. She's like, "Kaleidoscope. What about Kaleidoscope?" And immediately I clicked, was like, yes, that's perfect. And later in that day, somebody said, "You need like a shortened version of that too. Can we call you Collide?" And I was like, yeah, collide, because I also sort of collide with life and collide with everything I, set my mind to. So Kaleidoscope and Collide were born.
Thank you for sharing that. That's the first I've heard the story. So a lot of times I just ask, even though I already know, so that everybody else knows. But I'm glad to finally get the background.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to hike the Pacific Crest Trail?
I'll let you hold it now. I've thought about this a lot, and people asked me this a lot before I was leaving, and I have a lot of different answers, and I feel like none of them are quite it. I love backpacking. I've loved backpacking for most of my life. I love the simplicity of it. Like, everything that you're focused on is about your survival, your basic needs, It's like, what do I need? Food, shelter, water, somewhere to dig a cat hole. I think that simplicity and like streamlining the things that I'm thinking about really appeals to me a lot. And I also just love walking and like moving in a continuous line. I hate an out and back hike a lot. Love the idea of continuing to move forward. Even the notion of like flip-flopping and walking backwards, I'm like, fuck that all the way. I need to just keep moving north. So something about that continuous motion really appeals to me. And just the like grungy ass lifestyle, I fucking love it. It just really fits my vibe. But I do have a sense that there's a bigger why, and I don't really know what it is, and I don't know that I have to know what it is. I feel like it will percolate over the years to come when I'm done and while I'm hiking. But I have the sense that everyone here has answered some kind of call. Whether it's the same call or a different call, we're all kind of here, just like we felt that tug, and that's really what brought me here.
That's an awesome answer, and I think that probably resonates with a lot of people out here. I know it does with me for sure. I'm interested in what you said about collide and how you collide so hard with life. Tell me about your personal journey and how that does collide with polite society, and how that's also impacted and helped, but also made the journey on the Pacific Crest Trail a challenge for you.
Yeah, polite is that? Well, I'm not polite. Don't know how to be polite or couth in any way. Yeah. Where to start? Yeah, I think so. disclosure, I'm transgender. I'm non-binary. I don't really fit into any categories of thing. And that offends some people, certainly, for some reason. And it wasn't something that I came across early. A lot of people that I know who transitioned figured it out when they're like kids or teenagers, and I was 39 now, so it's not been that long. And I was married at the time to a dude who's straight. And he was like, oh, that's not really what I signed up for. And I was also like, that's not really what I signed up for, being in this situation. But the more I started exploring, outside of gender norms and outside of like what it is to be, in the binary in some way, the more free I felt, and the more I realized how that can unlock freedom in other ways as well. So it was like, gender was the first thing to fall, and then it was like, oh, monogamy? What the fuck is that? Why am I doing this? No one ever like said there were other options, and it was like, oh, I can think about, spiritual journeys differently. I can think about, how I want to work differently. I can think about where I want to live differently. I can like make my own life in all these different ways. So it's kind of like a catalyst in a way. And I would say this trail fits that pretty well. It's not really the norm, I would say, for the majority of people. And I think doing things that are outside of the box or outside of the norm is sort of my MO. And I like it a lot, and I think it's really fun, and I think it helps me stretch and grow and learn things in different ways.
That's lovely. And I wonder how the trail has treated you in that way. Like, what have you experienced any of that collision at all, or with people out here, or is it just as easygoing as it's been since you kind of fell into that journey yourself?
Yeah, it's been so. I looked up some stats on Halfway Anywhere just to see, like, hey, how are queer people treated on the trail? And, like, some people say they've experienced issues. I have not, personally. And which is great. I'm grateful for that. And I know that that tension exists out here. I think it's hard to dislike me. But genuinely, I do think that, like, when people, it's hard to hate people up close. And I think when you actually talk to somebody, even if like your ideology doesn't match, you're like, oh, you're just a person. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I've experienced a lot of. And for the most part, people are just like cool and chill. And also, I think I expect people to be cool and chill, and they are. And I know, I've had phases of my life where I've expected people to be assholes, and they are. So I'm like kind of coming into it being like, I'm expecting people to be like open, and that's what I've experienced. So
I'm very happy for that, because I'm sure it wouldn't be the best thing for you to get out here and then just be, kicked out. But it seems like everybody around on the Pacific Crest Trail, and you're part of the caterpillar, mm-hmm. now butterfly,
yeah.
which I want to get to in a second, has just been so accepting and so supportive and encouraging and inspiring. And I wonder why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not hiking with a lot of Americans, I've noticed. And that's partially by design, I think. Like, I think, not to like stereotype, but there seems to be like a lot of particular tension about queer and trans folks right now in this country. And I'm like gravitating more away from folks from this country just to like feel safer, and that's maybe like not fair or true of most of the people here at all, like yourself and like a lot of folks that I've met, but I think that's just felt safer for some reason to me. And then again, I think it's just like I'm getting to know people one-on-one or in a small group, and then they're like, oh, you're trans, like I didn't know, but they're like, I already know you.
My breakfast just came in. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Thank
look at
you
that
very much.
pancake.
I know, that was
Shit.
awesome.
But yeah, I do think it's the just like getting to know somebody first and then finding out some identity thing and being like, oh, who cares? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've fallen into this awesome family.
Yeah,
Like friends and family for life.
100%.
How did the caterpillar evolve into a butterfly?
Okay, well, the caterpillar is this long string of family, which I love. We're like now spread out across days, I think. And the original naming of the caterpillar was, I think there was like 6 of us walking down a hill at one point, and we were all just like stupidly in sync, just like walking together, like and this Dutch couple that we've been like leapfrogging with a bunch were like, oh, it's the caterpillar, and that name stuck, which I think is awesome. And then the caterpillar has grown, I think, to like 20 people probably. It's massive. But then 5 of us kind of ended up at like the head of it a little bit, and we're like, maybe we should have a new name. Like we're like emerging as the butterfly in the front a little bit, and that has stuck as well, which I think is really fun.
That is super fun, and I'm glad to like finally like know that story, because I was like kind of wondering, wait a minute, butterfly, who's that? But it makes sense.
It's us. Yeah, we just grabbed it.
Do you think that it makes it easier being on trail to build a community like the butterfly than it is in polite society and everyday? I don't know why I keep using that phrase, because it feels like we're so like, unhinged out here.
Disgusting and unhinged,
like,
absolutely.
Thinking about your story that you were telling last night about Under the Bridge, which I wanted to hear a little bit about too, if you wanted to highlight that a little bit. But I just wonder what your thoughts are on the community aspect of it.
Yeah, I love that question a lot, and I've been thinking about this, and I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday from back in New York, who's in a very different context like than me right now, so it's kind of trippy to like talk to her. But I think a few different aspects here. So that's like the intensity of spending all day, every day together, and you're like basically living with people that were strangers yesterday. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain type of intensity and like bonding there, as well as like the suffering, the beauty, the struggle, all the things. Doing that together is like such a bonding experience, and I think that helps build trust really quickly. And it's also like you have to have each other's back, because this is like not safe all the time. So it's like someone runs out of food, someone provides food, someone's out of water, someone provides water. So there's like a immediate sort of connection that forms there. I also think the foulness and like just grunge of it all, and the like, everyone knows all everybody's bodily functions. It's just like you can't really hide anything. There's like a certain element of just breaking past some of the barriers that we hold in polite society or in regular life that are like, you don't talk about taking a shit, you don't talk about whatever it is, and we're just like, who cares? And in my regular life, like, I'm pretty open about all the things with my friends, and I'm also like a big fucking weirdo, and a lot of people do, reflect that I bring out the weird in people, and I think this is like a prime bed to bring out weird in everybody. And the question about Under the Bridge, we had a really fun day, about 7 hours of killing time while it was hot out along the LA Aqueduct under a bridge, because there was shade. And we were like, 7 hours is a long time in the middle of the day. And we just we made up games. We did headstands. We made castles out of sticks. We dug in the dirt. It got fucking weird. It got real weird. And that really gelled our group together, I would say.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing some personal side of your background and life. Anything else you want to add?
Anything else? Man, I've just been thinking a lot about how all-consuming this is. I've been more and more it's harder and harder to be in contact with people outside of this context, and I kind of knew that would be the case, but I also didn't know that would be the case quite in the way that it has been. And I think there's something really beautiful about being all consumed by something. It's full body and like full heart and full mind, like everything we have to do logistically. And I think it's something that I can feel like changing my molecular makeup, as we're doing it. Like you can't be the same after this. And I think it's just fucking cool,
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about it that way, about how it is all-consuming and how sometimes you just completely disconnect from your relationships outside of this, and how hard it is to like even maintain those. And 5-6 months is a long time, but we're a month and a half in now, 6 weeks or so. So, hopefully everybody's okay out there.
Yeah, I mean, I am tripping out. I'm like, we're a month and a half in. We had like 4 more months of this, and this feels like we've been here for a year. It's crazy.
Do you have any like socials or anywhere anyone can find you, or anything you want to share with that?
Yeah, I'm on Substack. Actually, I have a Substack called Wilder Ground. I posted one thing so far, and it's really hard to write on my phone, but I have like a lot of writing seeds that I'm formulating, and I have some past writing on there as well. So Wilder Ground on Substack, and then my Instagram is On Being Max.
Awesome. I'll throw links to those in the description for the video too. But Kaleidoscope, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch up in the Sierras. Hopefully,
we will.
Hopefully, I can catch you.
You will.
Cool.